Welcome to another episode of geekoutdoors.com. And if you didn't know, Google just announced their Pixel phones. Say goodbye to their Google Nexus phones. Now, if you weren't aware of what's been going on here today, Google had some announcements today, not only for the Google Pixel phone, but also their Google Assist services and some of their home services. And there are other things that they talked about. But the main thing that everybody wanted to know about, wanted to see, was their new line of these Google Pixel phones. And I'm going to leave my quick thoughts on this and kind of like a rundown of what it's all about. And maybe, hopefully, we'll be able to get a better idea of what these phones are about once they are released later this month. And I'll probably go to the store and check it out because it should be available on Verizon. So first and foremost, the Google Pixel phones, they're actually here to replace their Google Nexus line. And Google is taking a different approach with this. You know, whereas before their Nexus line was primarily, hey, we wanted a manufacturer to make our phones for us. And so this will actually show what Google intended for their Android phones. Okay, so this is similar, but it's not. Because in this case, they don't talk about the brand or the manufacturer who is making the phones. But it is HTC. And as for those who keep up with Android phones, HTC was the first manufacturer to make the first Android phone. And they were also the first one to make a Nexus phone. So it kind of makes sense for them to make this very first Pixel phones. And right off the bat, when you see it, it reminds me so much of an iPhone. You know, so there's no way to get around it. When I look at it, I think of an iPhone. And especially on the front, you know, the front, that's iPhone all the way. Now, if you look at the details of it, it is different. You know, the back has a fingerprint scanner. There is some glass on the back as well. And also the sides of it, you know, this is kind of where you could see some of HTC's design language, where they have kind of like the chamfered edges on the sides. And it is all aluminum, so some of the high quality fit and finish as well. Now, before I get any further, let me talk about the specs, because everybody wants to know about the specs. So the specs is, there's actually two different phones. You know, one is the Google Pixel phone, and then the other one is the Pixel XL. So the default, the base one, the 5-inch Pixel phone actually has an AMOLED panel. It has a 2700 milliamp battery. It comes with the default 32 gigs of storage. It runs on a Snapdragon 821 processor, which is brand new. It comes with 4 gigs of RAM. It does use a USB Type-C connector. It does have Gorilla Glass 4, as you can see. And it also has quick charging as well, which claims it could charge up to 7 hours of use in just 15 minutes, which is great. And now, something that they're offering, which is now a feature, I guess, is a headphone jack. Awesome. Now, the XL, it bumps it up to a 5.5 inch. It still uses a AMOLED panel. However, this one is actually a Quad HD 2K panel. And that's one thing I do want to mention. This base model only has a 1080p screen. Okay? And it's still a very high pixel density, but it is just a 1080p screen. And I'll come back to that in a moment. And also, it's got many of the same features as the base model Pixel phone. Okay, so as you can see, lots of great specs, especially with the brand new Snapdragon processor. However, I did have some thoughts on what they are providing. Now, one thing I did mention that their camera is a 12.3 megapixel. It does have a front 8 megapixel camera, and they're claiming that this is the best camera ever. And that's based upon some measurements by an image website or authority. So we actually won't know really how it works in the real world until we actually get them out in the public. So overall, my thoughts on the actual specs. I think they're really good specs. However, I do not think they're great. And I will get into that in just a moment. But I wanted to go over the tech specs first before going back to the actual Pixel phone. So with all of those things that I talked about, what are some of the things that they are touting as benefits of this new phone? First thing is they give you unlimited storage for all your photos and videos, even 4K material, 4K video. So which means, you know, it's kind of like what they already have right now with their photo app, that you can basically save stuff on the cloud. I myself, I do not see that really as a feature that is unique, okay? Another thing that they're putting in is the Google Duo, and this is basically their video app, and it will be available in both Android and iOS. And so this is primarily made to compete with FaceTime and also all the other video type applications out there. You know, so I definitely want to get the hold in that market as well. And another thing is it also has the Google Assist. If I could get down here, maybe it's at the bottom. But basically Google Assist, and they do cover this quite a bit in their actual live conference that they did earlier, was it's basically Google Now on steroids, you know, and it's made to work not only on these devices but also their home devices as well. And another feature that they're touting is their new Daydream virtual reality feature, and also their virtual reality goggles that come with it. So it does have a lot of you know, gyroscopes, different things that allow it to do VR really well. And so I'm not sure how big of a differentiator that will make, or whether or not it is a great selling point, you know, because right now I still think VR is still in its infancy, and I don't really see the need for VR at this point for the mass markets. Now, other things that they're touting as a feature, I guess, is the different colors. One of them is a color that's only available on the Verizon right now. It's called the Very Blue. So yeah, I don't know how unique that would be. But overall, I think the design itself, it's, you know, like there's nothing crazy unique about it, okay? However, it is a very good looking phone, but at the same time, there's nothing that really stands out, you know. I would prefer something like a Samsung Galaxy S7 phone, you know, that, or the Edge. That looks way more unique, and it's very high quality as well. So let me go down here to see if there's anything else I missed. I think those are the main features. And other than that, you know, these two phones, I was expecting more. You know, after I saw it and after I actually saw these phones, I was just like, well, I mean, I don't see how that's really different or more valuable than any other phones that are out there, okay? So overall, I think the Pixel phones, you know, they are heading towards the direction of an Apple S type thing, where they want to have control of everything, okay, just like Apple. But here are where I think that this one could definitely stand for some improvement, okay? I'm going to start with the specs, or mainly focus on the specs, because I think, being a geek, specs do matter, but even more so when you're thinking about the price that they're charging. And this is where I really think that the value for the dollar is just not there. You know, historically, the Nexus phones, specifically the Google Nexus 5, they offered a lot of value for the money. You would basically get almost flagship specs. Like if you remember the Nexus 5, it basically almost had flagship specs, but at a cost of just $299, and you're getting basically the pure Google Android experience. In this case, the phones, the Pixel starts at $649, and the Pixel XL starts at $749. Now here is where I definitely do not see the value in these phones being at that price, because that's the same price as an iPhone and also a Galaxy S7, the flagships for both areas. Now the Pixel phone, it only has a 1080p screen. That is, to me, definitely unexcusable, especially at a flagship price. Okay, I really do not know why they did that. I mean, if you were paying like $400, I mean, even some budget phones out of China have a higher resolution than this phone. So it's following the iPhone model in this case, you know, which I think was not a good idea. And then another thing, which is a problem that I've always had with Google Nexus devices, is that there is no expandable storage. Okay, why, Google, have you not done it now? I've heard it so many times, but it just makes absolutely no sense why it would not have expandable storage, especially when you were talking about recording 4K material and how much space that takes, you know. They could at least put a micro SD card expansion in the XL version. but they didn't. Okay, and both of these at $649 and $749, you're only getting 32 gigs of space, which is nothing. And at least for the XL, if you wanted to go up to 128 gigs, you're gonna have to pay almost $900 for this phone, which has doesn't have a micro SD card expansion. Plus, here's another thing. It doesn't have a replaceable battery. And I know that's not a big deal to a lot of people, but that's one of the reasons why I got an LG G5. I wanted micro SD card expansion, and I wanted to be able to replace my battery if I wanted to, And so I really think those two things, having a low resolution, it's actually three things actually. Having a low resolution for your base phone, having no micro SD expansion, you can't replace your battery, and the biggest thing is the price. Okay, for that price, there are so many other better options, flagship phones that will give you more features and the same high quality or better build quality and finish. And so that is kind of where I really was disappointed with the Pixel phones, in that they didn't really offer anything new, and more importantly, they didn't offer you a lot of value for your money. Okay, now I go back to the Google Nexus 5. For $300, I could live with not having a micro SD card expansion or replaceable battery, because you're getting such a great value for your money, and at the same time, you're going to get the latest version of Android. And in this sense, there's really nothing that I see here that would just make me say, let me go out and get these phones. Even with the new Snapdragon processor, it's still not going to make me choose this over any other flagship Android phones, or even some mid-range phones that offer a lot more for the money. So that's basically it for my quick thoughts on the Google Pixel phones. Overall, I think they are good, solid phones. However, in terms of the value proposition and just really changing the market, I really don't see that these phones are going to do that. So we'll have to wait and see if people actually respond to this and buy it. But I'm predicting right now, at this price point, when you're comparing this against an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy phone, I don't think a lot of people are going to choose this over those two phones, especially in the Android space, where you have the Samsung Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge, where for pretty much the same price, you're getting a higher resolution, you're getting a micro SD card expansion, you don't get the battery replacement. However, you do also get waterproofing and dust proofing as well. So that and many other features that I think would be really beneficial to having this phone be a better value proposition. Okay, and even the camera, I'm not sure if it's going to be as good as they say it is. They're saying it's the best, but right now I think the best phone for camera and video, I still think it's going to be the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the Note 7, and following that is the iPhones. Those are my thoughts. And so if you had any ideas or any thoughts about these brand new phones, or just basically their other announcements, leave them in the comments area below. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.